Well, the Republican Governors Association is a committee set up to support Republican gubernatorial candidates across the country. It was an enormous force in the 2009-2010 election. People noted the fact that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and Karl Rove's Crossroads, American Crossroads and Crossroads GPS and the American Action Network were all major independent expenditures or independent spenders in the federal campaigns, but the RGA outspent the U.S. Chamber, American Action Network, Crossroads GPS, American Crossroads, and the Service Employees International Union combined. So it was a huge factor, and those were the 5 biggest independent spenders in federal elections across the country. It exceeded their impact in these gubernatorials across the country. What it did, as far as I can tell, is raise money from numerous sources across the country, and of course Haley Barbour was the chairperson, and he's legendary as a fundraiser. Accumulated massive amounts of money and then reshuffled where the money came from. So the delivery mechanism were political action committees in various states. I found at least 15 of them where I know they were active. What they reported in their Michigan Political Action Committee was that all the money, 98% of the money, came from persons who don't reside in Michigan, including David Koch, including Robert Perry of Swift Boat Veterans notoriety, and a number of other national figures who are involved in funding conservative politics. This is the biggest political action committee in the history of Michigan politics, over $8 million. And all the money that came to the RGA from Michigan donors landed in other states. What they did with the money from the Michigan PAC was interesting in its own right. $5.2 million was given directly to the Michigan Republican Party. $3 million went to the gubernatorial campaign of Rick Perry for governor of Texas. So one might logically ask, why is a Michigan state PAC giving $3 million to a Texas gubernatorial candidate? And I think that's something that only Haley Barbour and his staff would be able to explain. To me, it looked like an effort to try to scatter the breadcrumbs through the forest. Had there been a situation where Robert Perry gave $3 million to Rick Perry for governor of Texas, people in Texas may look askance at that. The biggest contributor to the RGA overall was the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, which gave $5.5 million, which is 20% more than their annual operating expenditures as a business association. Had this contribution not straddled 2 tax years, it would have been enough to turn the chamber from a 501c6 nonprofit business association to a 527 committee where all its donors have to be reported to the Internal Revenue Service. But these are smart people, they know the rules of the road, and they were very careful not to go over the most of your money is for political purposes in any single tax year. So while they spent more in a calendar year, they did not in their 2 tax years. The interesting thing about this large coordinated fundraising and then distributed disbursement mechanism was the places where it was active, and we know a lot of them were in the Midwest: Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin, Illinois, Minnesota. Also, in many cases, are places where we've got new Republican governors, John Kasich in Ohio, Scott Walker in Wisconsin, Rick Snyder in Michigan, Rick Scott in Florida. That was another big RGA state. All these new Republican governors seem to be operating from the same playbook. They're all talking about business tax cuts so job creators will create jobs. They're talking about public employees are paid too much. They're running either directly or indirectly programs to take away collective bargaining rights for public employees. Move toward privatization of education or so-called education choice. The whole agenda of policies that are coming from all of this are so common across these states, it's just uncanny. And for me, it's hard to believe that it's all coincidental.
There is a group called ALEC that seems to be writing the sample legislation. How is that integrated into this whole RGA 527 sort of cabal?
Well, that's a piece of this that I don't really understand, the relationship between ALEC and the RGA and Americans for Prosperity and Freedom Works and some of the other nonprofit organizations that are driving a lot of what's going on. Americans for Prosperity, Freedom Works seem to be more professional community organizing. Well, I don't understand the funding behind ALEC. ALEC made an early appearance in Michigan, testifying at least to the Senate Reinvention and Reform Committee, and talked about a number of its observations that across the country they're saying state governments aren't having a revenue problem, they're having a spending problem. Well, that model just doesn't fit in Michigan. While the economy of Michigan has contracted about 10% over the last decade, the state's general fund has contracted over 40%. So what has happened here truly is probably the most successful example that I could find of Grover Norquist's ideal of starving the beast. We're in the position we're in fiscally as a state by design. This was kind of the loaded program that has been unfolding was left to us by John Engler.
The agenda appears corporatist, but they seem also to be willing to use social issues as wedge issues. So it's an odd combination. The fundamental approach on the part of all of these organizations really is a corporatist agenda, though.
Well, I think it is. I think that that's where the money behind this movement is corporatist. I think it's a concession that's made to broaden the tent to bring in religious conservatives and some of the social agenda wedge issues. They're tolerated, although not necessarily embraced. Now that makes for interesting politics in Michigan. You've got an attorney general who's putting out regular news releases to appeal to the Tea Party and to the social conservative aspect of the Republican coalition, where the governor is trying to pursue a more direct, straightforward corporatist agenda. Off on his right flank, he's got this other movement afoot, and I think there's a certain amount of peril for him in working between these two groups, and I think we're going to see the first great example of that with what happens with a bridge over the Detroit River. A lot of the Tea Party, Liberty Caucus kinds of Republicans would view this as, I don't know, colonization by socialist Canadians or something to have the Canadian government involved in building this second span over the Detroit River. And unfortunately, the governor has laid his hand, or unfortunately for him, he's laid his hand face up that he's looking for that proposal to go forward. So it'll be interesting to see if he can keep his Republican legislative allies and so forth together, because he has not exhibited a great enthusiasm about a lot of the social issues, although he certainly hasn't indicated a willingness to veto any conservative initiatives that come his way.